Hello guys, welcome to our yam farm. Today we have something unique we are going to show you today, so we want you to listen, watch us carefully. This is about 5.5 months, almost 6 months since we planted this yam farm. And you know, previously I've talked about yam farming, the timing in the yam farming, and we have been following those step-by-step things that were enumerated in that video. In that video, I'm going to remind us of the graph that I used to talk about the life cycle of yam, especially white yams. Now, it is about time to see if we should harvest our farm. Before we start harvesting, before we start milking, which is usually the first harvest, which is what I encourage for every yam farmer, whether you are a backyard farmer, yam farmer, or you are a commercial yam farmer, milking is very key. Harvesting so that you can get seed yams. But before that, it is important you know whether it is the right time to milk, so that you not milk immature yams and probably run at a loss. It's still good you understand that. So what I want us to do today, or what I want to do for us today, is to see if these yams are ready to be milked. So I'm going to do a test harvest, and I encourage everybody to do that. For those who have been following me, I really appreciate it. Your feedbacks have been very, very encouraging. Sometimes I even see some people's yam farm far better than my own. They look far, far better. And I'm encouraged. It means I'm successful, so to speak, because if you can train people and they are even doing better than you, that's very, very key. So today we are going to look at this one. If you check, the colors are changing. The leaves are turning from that usual dark green to yellow. It means that senescence is about to set in or is starting. And again, if you look carefully, the beads, they are already drying out little by little. So before these leaves will completely dry out, it is important we milk so that we can get seed yams. This is what we are going to try and see today. So today is basically our test harvest. So let's go right into it. Guys, we are going to start with this. I just randomly picked this. But remember that I told you that you can also cut costs by planting, of course, your seed yams alongside your normal wire. This is the wire we are going to check today. We are not going to touch the seed yam now. We are not going to really touch the seed yam now. But I'm going to show you something about this seed yam later. There is a session I planted the seed yams before I did this, I think, or about the same time. But I'm not touching this one yet because this one is not really ready. But there's something you can still do to this seed yam. I'll show you later. It's towards the end of this video, so don't go away. So let's look at it where. Please be careful not to touch this seed yam, because from all indications, it's not really ready for anything like that. Okay. So I decided to use this extra gloss. Okay, fine. This is the main tuber. Like I told us, you look for the head. We already know that. So I'm going to get my knife now to cut the neck. I'm leaving the root intact. Of course, we have a video on that already. You can always check that out. That's not the focus of this today. So, harvesting from hip can be tedious. So just try as much as possible. Let's see. There are signs that will show us if our tuber is mature enough. So that will give us indication as to harvesting the whole farm later. So you can see how I'm trying to carefully remove the soil all around it. And the pattern of white yams is that it grows directly down. So okay, fine. Been able to detach this. Let's see. Wow. Okay. Yeah. This is large. It's large. I'm sure this one will weigh close to 4 kg, if not more. All right, guys, this is our first test. I'll probably still choose another one again. Now, is it ready? See, this is the sign. So, if you check, you are expected to get a light yellow tip. And at the end of this tip, I'm going to use water to rinse it out to actually really see, if so. But the first sign is this, it's light yellow. If it is purely white, it's not ready at all. But this one is a mixture between white and yellow. But I'll still check this tip. There's supposed to be a brown stuff at the end to finally indicate that it has locked. It won't grow more than this again. So let's go and check. But I'll just quickly cover this up so that this head stump you are seeing is going to develop into a large CDM later, because the leaves are still very green. So that's why I always like to do a test before I quickly do this. I want to err on the side of caution. I don't want this one to be immature, and I don't want to lose this. So it's striking a balance between both. All right, let's see. So I want to try a second one to see. Mind you, this is the small CDR we planted by this side. I don't want to alter that one. This looks a little bit buried. Let's see. We're hoping that our yield comes out well. Haven't done all we can. The ground is still soft though, because it's still raining. Be careful not to go and bury your knife. Okay, let's see. Okay, now let me cut the head between the neck and the okay. Okay, still down there. Let me see. Thought I could just remove it. Okay. All right. Okay. I think this one. Yeah. Whew. I like what I'm seeing. All right. So this is what I'm talking about. Come closer so that you see. You can see that this tip, compared to the other one, this tip is light yellow and almost brown. And if you see the end point of the tip, let me remove it by a glove so that I can show you very well. See, it's already sealed, and you see some things that look like scar. See, it means that it has stopped moving down. The growth has really stopped. What is occurring now is basically maturity. And of course, if you pressing this place now, it's strong. So you can see that this tuber is already fully developed. If you leave it more, it will only just be getting more matured. The color will be changing to brown. It won't add to the size really. So this is the time for you to actually start milking. So this is about 5 weeks. 5 months, 3 weeks to 6 months. Let's just say approximately 6 months. Now, if by this time you discover that it is still white here, it means you should still leave it further, maybe for another 2 weeks. That's what I advocate. Just leave it for another 2 weeks, then you will milk. I don't play with my CDMs. Everybody that know me, they know that, because after this one now, if I sell this one, I'm going to have seed to plant. But if I leave it to just the vines fully get dried and all that, I'll still bring out a tuber that is not bigger than this. it will only just be all brown and well, in quote, matured. But this one is very mature too. So for me, this is what I advocate. So what we have done now is test harvest. So this one has given me an indication that I should go ahead and harvest the other ones or make my other farm. Now, mind you, it depends on when you planted. This farm is not all the yams that I planted at the same time. So I have my diary with the ones I planted at certain times. I calculate, because when I'm planting, I just put it 5 months, 2 weeks, or maximum 6 months from when I planted. I will just go and milk. You see that the leaves now, they are still very green. So I'm going to have very large seed yam from here. So I'm going to cover now. We have demonstrated this before. Sorry, I didn't have to use. Demonstrated this before, how to do this milking. I'll put the video at the end of this so that you can watch further. It's not more than what we have just done here. So in another 2 months, 3 months max, I'll come back here and remove this one. But today what we did is not necessarily milking. It's a practice called test harvest for us to know when to start making the other. I only just did about 2 now that you have seen. One wasn't so matured, so this one is matured. So I can just start milking now because I've seen that this one is matured. But even if I leave for another 2 weeks to just give room for others that are the late, in quote, maturers, I will milk them. By then my leaf will still be green. It's no more than basically 6 months. We are about to harvest, or I would rather say milk, to remove the already full-grown tuber. We are going to leave the roots down because it is still green. We have the propensity to have yet another seed yam from it. So we are going to be having a form of double harvest. We'll harvest first. In another 2-3 months, we'll come back again and finally remove the bulb of yam that will also be formed thereafter, because the leaves, they are still green, although some of them, the lower ones, basically they are already turning yellow, which is an indicator that it is already matured for harvest. Coupled with the fact that you know when you planted it, and it is usually 6 months from planting to harvest time, and thereafter you leave it for another 3 months, provided the roots are still intact, then it will give rise to seed yam. So we are going to be making the harvest now. This is the heap that was made. Of course, the yam that is going to be harvested is deep down the ground. We are going to be using some instruments. This is the yam harvester. It's made in form of a mini spear, so to speak, usually about 3 feet to about 5 feet long. This is about 3 feet long, and I prefer this short one because it helps me with manipulation. And of course, these are my hand gloves to prevent injuries. So let's start. The heap of the yam. First of all, identify. This is the major vine that came from the yam that was planted, and this is the pattern. There's this radial spread of the roots. You see all of them going radially. So you have to locate the neck of the tubers that have been formed. Okay. So as you can see, these are the tubers that have been formed. So let's come closer so that we'll see the neck. Okay, this is the neck. Yeah, so I'm going to get a knife. Carefully, don't tamper with the roots, let them remain intact. You look for the neck, which is the point between where the vine grows from and the neck of the newly formed tubers, and that's where you are going to cut. This particular plant gave rise to one vine, gave rise to 2 tubers, so that's why I'm cutting on both ends. So this bulb is free from the main tubers now, but of course you can see some of the roots, they are still intact, which is what is needed for us to form the bulb later, or this yam for planting. So I'll need to dig further down in order for me to get this tuber out. This will require me either sitting down to carefully get it, or at least kneel down. It's basically to find a comfortable position so that I'll be able to get it. So I've used my instrument. Okay. Okay, I'll do that. Okay, so carefully. Yeah, this is a tuber. Nice and easy. This is the second one, which definitely going to be easy, but always be careful not to fracture the tuber. Make sure you've gotten all the soil away so that you can easily remove. Okay, this is yet another tuber. Nice and easy. Luckily, we got 2 big tubers from just one plant. So you can see the roots are still intact. It's just a few. In order to get space, you could just see very few, but make sure you still have up to 5 minimum. Or sometimes you can have just 1 or 2, but at least have roots, so that this bulb you are seeing is going to, in 3 months time, we'll still review, and you'll see it forming the seed yam. That will be good for us to plant and get more tubers next planting season. As far as the leaves are still green, they'll still be able to produce food and get stored here. So you can see when I was cutting, I did not allow any form of yam to remain. So it's better that way, so that you can form bigger bulbs. So I'm going to bury this in now, return the soil that I took out, and cover the roots so that with more rain, we are in September now. Today is the 5th day of September. So September, October, November, by December, October, November, by early December, this will be ready for harvest again. So you can see that we are getting both the tubers to eat, and thereafter the seeds to plant from the same yam. So we are going to have 2 forms of harvest from one single yam. Today we want to look at a very special way of milking your yams. I have showed us a video before where I taught how to milk yam, but today I want to teach a very unique method, because sometimes you want to milk your yam, but you are not quite ready to really harvest. What I mean by that, you've not prepared the place you are going to store your yams, but it is time for you to actually milk. So you are between milking so that you will not lose the seed yams you will get, and finding a place to actually store your yams. Today we are going to actually look at what to do in that regard. So sit back as we go into this new method of making yams. This is the yam we want to make now. All right. So this new method entails that you make your yam. You are now expecting the seed yams, but the tubers, you have not removed them. They will still be inside the soil. I've done this method in yam sack before now, but I felt I should just make us know that we can also do it in yam in heaps. But I will demonstrate how to do it here because there are two very unique methods I'm going to teach here now. So let's go into it. Now, this is the yam I want to milk. I have two vines here. So this is one of the tubers, and I'm sure the other tuber is here. All right, so this is the tuber I want to make now, and this is the head. This is my knife. So what I will do is I'll cut, detach it from the head. I mean the main tuber, detach this head. Now I want you to know that this head is very important. This is the head that is predestined to form seed. I've showed us in a short video before what became of this. So now that you have detached the head, what you do is to take it down, find a space around and bury it. You just bury it. Of course you cover. Now this cut surface, if you have wood ash, you can just add if you have, but if you don't have, it doesn't spoil anything really. Although this is something I would like to do another time. Use wood ash to rub this, and the ones I don't use wood ash, so that we'll do some comparison, but that's a discussion for another day. All right, so that's what you do. So you come to this place again. It's the same thing, of course. Look for the head. This tuber is quite large compared to this one. So all right, so take note that your roots, they are intact, some of them. So now, in order to free this to be mobile, I'll just remove the roots here. Of course, I've detached from this head, so I'll just look for a place to bury. I'll just bury this one here. I'm not removing the tuber. I'm going to leave them because I'm not ready for harvest yet. But again, I don't want to lose the seed. So this is method number 1. All right. In another 2 months or thereabout, I'll come here, remove both the seed yams and the tubers. One advantage of this is it's still raining over here, and I'm not ready to remove the tubers yet. Now, with these tubers being here, it's more like a storage thing. All right. So if I remove them now, if I don't want to sell them, they could go bad and all that. But the summary is that I'm not even chance to do that for now. So let me just do it this way. Okay, the method number 2 is what I want to show now. I want to milk this. All right. So what we'll do in method number 2 is still, of course, you look for the head. In fact, this particular yam is giving me 2 very large tubers. All right. So this is the head now. You must have that skill of locating the head and, of course, cut from the neck. Okay.
detach from here, and I detached these two because this one is coming with. Okay, so I've detached. Now that I've detached, sometimes I may not even have, because the tuber might be down, I may not even have the space to shift. So what I will just do will be to look for a piece of wood or stone and just put in between, so that there is a clear demarcation from the place where it's connected to the, or this is another, maybe a piece of wood. Now I will now put in between, so that there's just a demarcation. This is the stone. It's just because this one is 2, so 1, 2. All right, so the head is here, all the roots are intact, but I have detached. All right, you see it's free. I have detached. If you have space, you move, but if you don't have space, you just detach and put something in between, so that this head now begins to form the seed. So the tubers are in here. I'm not ready. I'll just cover. So a couple of weeks from now, you'll see that this place will start cracking because it has started forming tuber. So guys, these are the 2 major ways. But before we go, I'm going to show you the one that I have already done about 10 to 14 days ago, so that you see that this head is already developing seed, whereas the tuber is still in there. Let's go there. So I did this some days ago, less than 2 weeks now. Okay, look at the tuber. Look at the tuber. So look at the place where I cut. Oh God, with this I had the opportunity of applying ash and all that. So now, this is the head of the yam. Now, just watch. It has started becoming white. All right, see. Are you seeing it? See. Bring the camera closer so that you see that small head that I cut. See, this is just less than 2 weeks. This is just about 9 to 10 days ago. It's becoming white, which means it has already started forming. So if you observe carefully, it will start developing new roots. There's a way the leaves that are still there, they kind of induce root formation, so that this one become a new entity of its own. So many people will be surprised, how will it form? See, this old root, they will just help to retain it for some time before it start developing new roots for it to grow those seed yam. Now, what I want you to know, let me cover it. All right. Now, what I want you to know is that you don't need to wait till everything dries up. Eventually, every vine is going to dry up here, you know. But I would have gained my seed yam and my tuber is still here. Some people will still leave this tuber plus this vine without milking. Everything will dry up before they go and harvest. Instead of doing that, why not just gain more seed yam, and of course your tuber is still here. I'm even envisaging that next season, from the way the things are going around in the economy, seed yams are going to be quite expensive. So this is the time for you to actually do this. You are not ready to harvest, fine. Milk, leave them all there. When you are ready to harvest, you just remove everything. At the end, you are having double harvest. Having your seed yam, your tubers, rather than allow them to dry till the end. Because when you allow them to dry, the tubers will not get bigger. In the end, you would have lost your seed. Let me also shock you. This very tuber you are going to bring out, if you still, with time, after it has broken dormancy, from this same head, if you cut part of the head, it will still sprout. So you have your seed yam here, you have the head that you can cut, and it will still sprout. It's a win-win situation for you. I always say that. So try as much as possible to do this, and also let me have your result. One more thing. This is white here. The question I want to ask, will this also happen in water yam? That's your water yam. Can you also milk? I did an experiment, and I know you want to know the outcome of that. So keep watching us. Subscribe if you have not done so that you will know what happened there. Heritage Network. We showed us a video earlier where we can have double harvest of yam within 9 months from a particular plant. After removing the main tuber, you leave the roots intact to form
the seed yam. Today we are going to show you a video of how we have waited for about 3 months and we are getting the seed yams today. This is a particular plant we harvested about 3 months ago. This is the stem and these are the dried vines, meaning it is ready for harvest. So we are going to show you how we'll get the seed yams now. So you trace. Sometimes this major vine can be detached, but as you can see, it's dried, indicative of the fact that it is ready for harvest. So I've been able to trace it here, down here. So I'll look for so I can feel the bulb now. Quite massive, it's big, so I'll carefully dig around it so that I can bring it out without much injury. So, wow, so this is the large bulb of seed yam that we are getting from an already harvested yam. This is 3 months later. This is what we are having, and this is quite big. If you watch carefully, this is the point where the other ones will. These are points where the other one will. This is stalk of the vine. These are points. So with this, we can actually get up to about 3 planting seed from this large one, because it's very large. You can't just plant it like this. You can cut here and cut this way. You can have about 3, such that you can get 3 tubers if you plant this by dividing them into various portions, because they will show you. Look at it. So it's a win-win situation where you first of all harvest and remove the main tuber, replant and get what you are going to use as seed later. And this is very, very important to yam farmers like me. Hello guys. Storing your yams actually begin with this process, and the process of harvesting. I want you to understand that for you to be able to store these yams with little losses or no losses, you must learn to harvest in such a way that you do not cause any injury. I'm going to show you 2 mistakes that people make while trying to store their tubers, and what exactly you are to do, because what exactly you are to do is what the focus of this video is all about. So don't touch that dial. Let's go into it. So guys, I'm going to show us 2 mistakes that people normally make before they start storing their yams. We've just harvested this, like you saw earlier.
Mistake number one. Because they want to remove the soil attached to the yam. Remember, this yam is just freshly harvested. The skin is still very, very soft. So they do this. All right. Fine, you are removing the soil, isn't it? But you are doing something else to the yam. You are causing injuries and you are causing bruises. That's mistake number one. This can lead to the damage during storage. Mistake number two, because you want to make the yam fine, you say it's rough. There are a lot of soil. You try to remove them. The ones you cannot remove fully, you bring water and start to beat the yam. All right. Okay. Fine. It's getting fine now, isn't it? Wow. All right. You are saying that the thing is getting fine and you'll be happy. This is mistake number two. Because the skin is still very, very fragile. And the more moist you put, it's already moist. It's already, especially when you harvest during the rainy season. The more moist you put, the more likely your tubers are going to get bad. And I'll tell you why. It can lead to fungal infestation, and that is a major problem before storage or during storage. The question now is, if you are not doing this, and I'm saying that you shouldn't do this either, what should you do? And that leads us to the main discussion for today, what we are going to really talk about today. It is called curing of your yam. So let's go right into it. So guys, we are going to talk about this concept called curing of yams. It's an age-long concept that has been used to take care of yam tubers before they are finally stored in the barn. Of course, we know that barn storage can help your yams to last up to about 5 to 6 months, even beyond. But this is the crucial stage where a lot of people lose their yam tubers. You can imagine after working for about 6 months, 7 months, 8 months, and at the end you lose a whole chunk of all that you have labored for all these months. So the process of curing is that first 4 days to about 1 week post-harvest. What you do in these days matters so much. And so that's what we are going to be looking at. What is curing? It's actually the process of healing. It's actually the process of healing of your yam tubers. Because during harvest or even handling, there could be some form of injuries. And of course, you know that at that particular time of harvest, like we have showed earlier, the skin is very, very fragile, very, very soft. Any little thing can just make it get broken. Now, the process of curing will help the skin to be very tough and will help wounds in the yams to heal. There are 3 basic types of wounds. The superficial one, the bruises, then deep wounds. The superficial and the bruises usually are taken care of mainly by this curing, although the very deep wounds may not be taken care of by curing. So if you have such tubers where you have very large injuries, you could separate them because those may not be meant for storage, because no matter what you do, they will still get infected by fungi, and that is very, very crucial. So what is this curing really all about? It's actually storing your tubers in an area where they can dry out for some time, about 4 days to about 1 week. That way, you don't need to use your knife to remove the soil around them, or you use water to wash. This one was harvested yesterday, and as you can see, I did not even bother to remove the soil. With time, because it's drying out, it's going to, all this soil eventually will start falling off. I won't even force them to fall off. Let me show you what I mean. For example, this particular tuber has been harvested about 4 days now, or 5. You can see that the soil can just easily crumble out because it has dried, and the skin of the yam is now a bit tough. It's still curing actually. Now look at something like this. This one is over 1 week now. You can see that the whole soil is out and the yam is looking very, very fine. Now, some form of healing has taken place, and again, the skin during this process, it starts getting tough. I'm going to just put a few terms because there are some physical and biochemical reactions actually taking place that you may not really know about, but I'll just put some few terms in this video now so that you can check it out later and you understand better what I'm trying to say. So this yam has been cured. Now, the process of curing enables us to also sort out the yams that can go to the barn and those that are for immediate consumption or for sales, as it were. Because if you take a particular tuber that was not properly cured, that is infected with fungus, at the end it will get rotten or get destroyed. Or if you even take tubers that were deeply injured, for example, like this tuber, it looks fine, it seems as if it has cured. Yes, but I have one very deep injury here. I wouldn't want to store this because no matter what I do, that injury will get infected with fungus. It is easy once it is a superficial bruise, because what I do, if it is just a superficial bruise, the curing can help it heal. It will just get toughened and it will heal. But to even enhance that, I will just use ash and rub on that area. But for this kind of deep injury, I cannot really use ash to do this. So eventually it's going to lead to fungus infestation or fungal infestation. I'm going to have to either sell this now or I'll eat this one. So that is basically what curing is all about. But I want to mention something. What are the conditions for curing? Usually in the literature, it is said that about 32 to about 40 degrees centigrade under a humidity of about 85 to 95%. So, which means the place is not too moist such that it will not lead to fungal infestation. But then again, you need some persons can even cure under sunlight for about a day. They'll just put their yams in quote to dry out. That is usually very important, especially during the rainy season. I try as much as possible to delay my harvest from the rainy season. If I'm not going to really sell those yams or use those yams at them, I try to delay because I don't want so much moist. And once you are curing, don't cure in a wet place or in a very humid place. No, it will lead to the destruction of your yam. So I think with this video, you now understand that you don't just harvest and store in your barns. You leave for about 1 week. 1 week is fair enough. Some persons leave as far as 2 weeks to be very, very sure that any tuber that is going to get bad is easily sorted out, because you don't take all tubers to the barn or for final storage. You separate after curing. A lot of people know so much about curing sweet potatoes, but they know less about curing yams. I want you to check out some more literature with this information that I've given you now, so that you will know that curing your yams before you store in the barn is very, very important. It's a very crucial procedure you must always do, especially when you harvest during the rainy season. It's very key, because during the dry season, some of them would have even started getting, in quote, cured inside the ground, especially when you milk and you delayed your harvest. You understand what I mean? Because we have posted videos like that previously. But during the rainy season, make sure you always do this curing. You can see how fine my tubers are. Don't bother to scrape with knife, because if you do so, you injure the soft skin that has not been cured. And if you wash, it will even make it worse, because it will be very moist, and through those tiny places of injury, fungal infestation can lead to the destruction. So I hope with this information that I've given you, you start correcting those mistakes.
Heritage Network. Today we are going to be talking about how to construct a traditional yam barn. Yam barn storage is one of the traditional methods used for storing yam in this sub-region of West Africa. So we're briefly going to show you how it can be constructed in a simple way. You can do it yourself. Okay, to construct a traditional yam barn, you will need this type of wood, hardwood, vertical, that you are going to put as a post. This is about 4 inches by 2 inches. 4 inches by 2 inches wood. And that's another one there. I'm just going to make the simplest unit, which is just consisting of 2 poles or 2 posts. If you want to extend it, you keep adding more vertical posts. The distance between the 2 poles is usually about 10 feet. Some can extend a little more to about 15. But basically, a small unit of 10 feet is what I'm going to construct now. Because the larger the span, the more you are supposed to even use a thicker wood. But I want to use this wood. But alternatively, for those who stay in the rural area, or you can afford the luxury of having a growing tree, you could use a growing tree that is cut in place of this, usually about 5 inches in diameter. I just brought this to show an example. Although this is not up to about 5, this is about 3.5 inches in diameter, but it should be bigger than this. The reason why you prefer a growing tree most times is that when you put a growing tree as your post, with time it will germinate and cause shade, and that germination means it is alive and it's always be resilient. It is going to be a permanent structure. The year in, year out, you can use it. But I'm in an urban setting. I don't have the luxury of having pins like this, so I decided to use this that is also strong. I got it from wood store. These are the vertical posts. Then you have the horizontal post. The horizontal wood you are going to put made of the same hardwood, but 3 inches by 2 inches thick. So this is what I'm going to use as my vertical post. There's also another wood that will be needed for anchoring. I'll show us how this can be used, but note that it is beveled at the edge, 45 degrees. I'll show us why I did this. Then again, we also need this. This is going to form the rack where we are going to tie the yams eventually. This is just a 1 inch by 2 inches wood. This is going to be the place where we are going to tie the yams. I will tell us how we're going to mount this. To start with, we just make a deep hole of about 18 inches deep, or about 2 feet. That is it. And that's where we're going to put the post. And usually the post can be as long as 10 to 15 feet high, depending on what you want. For me, I didn't make it that long because I want to be able to manipulate. But for some persons, if you have a ladder, you can use a ladder to climb and tie as long as you want. You can achieve that. The purpose of making it long, or the advantage of making it longer than this, is that you have more places you can store your yarn. But for the purpose of this video, I just want to make this simple unit. You can always do your modification, but these are the basic principles. So in starting the construction, I'm going to put these posts into their holes. Then we'll construct the yam barn framework. the major frame has been made. We have put the post. This is just a simple unit. If you want a larger barn, you keep increasing at the same span. Now we have 3 horizontal wood, and because of this simple unit, 2 vertical. But the vertical can keep extending. You can get as much as the length. This is about 10 feet long. Can get as long as you want, the space you want, up to about 100 feet and all that, depending on how large you want the barn. The next you want to do is to anchor, because you see it's a frame, but it's not going to be strong on its own, especially when you start carrying the yam. It might buckle. So we want to anchor by using this wood that is beveled about 45 degrees. Dig a small hole in front and anchor such that it helps you to carry the weight. You need to nail this here and also do it on the other side. So we are done with the basic framework of the yam barn. It's done. What we need to do now is to place the rack. This rack, we are not going to nail it. We are just going to anchor. But I want us to look at how we normally anchor it. What you do is to tuck this in. It's going to be behind the upper horizontal bar, in front of the middle horizontal bar, and behind the lower horizontal bar or wood, such that it anchors. You apply a little bit of force and adjust it the way you want, depending on the yam, size of the yam. If it's smaller yam, of course I'll move it closer to the ball. If it's bigger yam, because this is going to form the middle point where you are going to tie the yams horizontally on. So this is the end of yam barn construction, because the more yams you have, the more of this this post or rack that you put in here. Now this is a wood, but for those in the rural area, they have cheaper things that they can use. For example, the mid-rib of a palm frond. This is from palm frond, removing the leaves. You have this mid-rib. This can also be used in place of this.
So we have come to the end of the construction of the yam barn. In our next video, we are going to be talking about how the yams are placed on the yam barn. Please do.
Today we are going to be talking about and demonstrating how to tie yams on the constructed yam barn. This is the yam barn that we have constructed. Please, if you did not follow up till now, kindly check our previous videos where we talked about the construction of the yam barn. Now this is the rack that we have placed, and we are going to tie our yams on the rack. We normally use this nylon rope, because it does not mount so much pressure on the yams, and that's what is expected. If you even have a flatter one, the better, so that the pressure is mounting on the yam is grossly reduced. Then if you also observe the position we sighted the barn, it's usually good to sight your barn in a shady place where you have less or excessive sunlight. And the advantage of the yam barn in this traditional yam barn is it gives ventilation to the yams that are tied on it, so that it prevents rot. I want us to please take note of that. In using this rope to tie, it depends on the size of the yam. If you have larger tubers of yam or very large tubers of yam, you could double the rope so that it will be stronger. But if you have smaller tubers of yam, like the ones we are going to be doing, they are basically seed yams, you could just use one single stretch of the rope. We are going over to tying the yams. First of all, I took a small portion of this rope. I'm going to tie it at the upper extreme because this is what I'll need to eventually join the ones I'm using to tie the yams from the lower part. To start the tying, I'll just take a relatively long portion of the rope. I wouldn't want to hold the bunch so that it will be easy for me to manipulate. You will see the reason why we are doing so. Please let me come. So as we begin the tie, it's along this rack. We'll just tie. We've already anchored our rope, single handed. Then we'll start to tie the yams. You always need someone at this stage to get you the yam. So I'll start tying. Now, you place the yam horizontally. You use the rope, go behind the rack, then pass it under the first row that's coming from the yam. Then you adjust so that this side goes down to lie as flat as possible. It's a continuous tying, so you are going to always hold your rope to make it count and sustain that pressure. This is the second one. Take note, the way we arrange the yams, once the head of the first one is to your right or left, the head of the second one will be on the opposite side in order to balance out the arrangement of the yams. You go behind the rack, pass the rope under and adjust. You hold. So this is the head of the yam now. So it will now be the tail to this side, the head on the opposite side. I go round, you go round, take the rope under the one that is coming from the yam, you adjust. So means this rope will always be under the one that is. Now this is the head, this is the tail. So I'll go same way. Now, still holding the rope, because it's going to finish, I'll just cut and add to the rope, tie it, and continue tying the yams. This is the last tuber of yam, so I'm going to use that other rope that I put initially to tie. That was the essence of putting down. This brings us to the end of tying yams to the yam band. If you want to continue, of course, you place another rag here and you repeat the same process. You are through the next rack and so on until your band is full or until your yams are exhausted. One more thing we need to do, of course, we need to cover this such that there will be the direct heat from the sun will not affect the yam, because yams, they don't like heat. This will create ventilation as well as the shade.